If you have said to yourself, I should write that, or if someone has said to you, you should write that, then I'm talking to you because you need to write. And that's why you're tuned in to yWrite. Hi, I'm your host, Angela Grout, and welcome to yWrite, the podcast where I invite writers on the show to talk about why they write to get you writing too. Today, I have a very special guest that I recently met. I have an author here who's the author of Stories from the Stoop, and we're going to talk all about the vivid stories of love, life, acceptance, and freedom that he was able to capture from his own memoirs to share in his book. His name is Steven Bernstein, and let me tell you, as a kid, he survived the turbulent Bronx streets in the 1960s, and I just finished reading this book, and boy, I feel like I was living it right there with him. He is a mentor, a teacher, and an advocate for teens in trouble. He's a humane educator and an animal rights activist from Western Massachusetts. He enjoys participating in story slams, and we're going to talk a little bit about verbal storytelling and the story slams that he has participated in and the ones that I'm participating in. But right now, let's welcome our guest, Steve Bernstein, and we are going to Bernstein, and we're going to talk all about Stories from the Stoop. So, hi, Steve. How are you?
Doing great.
Thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
So, we recently met at a writers' conference.
Yeah.
And, just kind of, just had a lot of things in common. Obviously we're writers, we're storytellers. You have just published a novel, a memoir, Stories from the Stoop. And as I shared with the audience, I read it, and I feel like I've lived your life with you in the 60s. How did you come up, and I can't say how did you come up with the concept to write this book. I mean, it's your story, it's your life. Why write it?
Well, I never wrote before I was 60 years old. I'm still in my 60s.
Okay.
But what I did do is I told stories. Oral.
Yeah.
Mainly to the kids I work with, which were always challenged teens. And it was not only an icebreaker, but it opened the door to them to tell their stories. And when they told their story, I witnessed these young people freeing up and enjoying it and owning it, and got rid of some of the angst and dread just by...
Yeah, I'm going to, you came from a troubled childhood. I guess we've all come from a troubled childhood, but, more, I'm going to say abusive and things like that, where you're helping, teens in trouble, and people don't want to always share their story, whether they're embarrassed or they're, hiding it, or, they simply want to pretend it didn't happen.
Right.
But going into that pretend world and not, sharing your authentic story definitely causes a lot of hurt and anger, and resentment builds up. And the fact that you can get them to share their stories because you've shared yours is huge. I can see why that, you're such a...
Well, it opens the door, once you let that cat out of the bag, no, I don't like those sayings with animals,
I know what you mean.
Forget I said that. Once you open that door, that trauma, that difficulty, the bad memories, or what they're experiencing now, it's shared.
Yeah.
They're not holding it in all by themselves.
Yeah, we all have something that we've gone through in our life. So,
some things.
We can empathize with people, and, some of the stuff that you wrote in here, there's a terrible scene, talking about you as a youth getting, pretty much attacked by a lot of rough gangsters. I'm going to call them gangsters. Not gangsters at the time. No. But, it's like people don't want to talk about, when they lost a fight, or when someone beat them up, or, when they were bullied. And, you told it in such a way that, like I said, I was right there with you, and I was like anger, getting my own self anger, with it. Yeah. When you were writing this, so let me ask you, how did you start writing it? Did you just start a journal and say, I'm going to write this story about how I got my first dog?
No. Yes and no. I'm going to say in 1994, I took a road trip. And on the way, I purchased, back then, what we used for typing. It was like a word processor.
Okay.
And I needed to get my head clear. It was a tough time. And I just started writing about Wolf.
Yeah, and Wolf is your dog.
Yeah, Wolf is the dog. First story. Wolf saved my life, but I couldn't save his. That's the story in a nutshell.
Let me tell you, I fell in love with Wolf right in that first chapter. I was like, what a great dog. And you have a great way of talking about him.
Yeah.
That it's, we can see the humor in it, but, I mean, because you're acting like he's this, big, tough dog. And, I mean, he was, but he was such a gentle dog for you.
Well, dogs, what would we do without them?
I know.
I don't even want to get into that right now.
I know. I have a dog myself.
So, put it to rest. I wasn't a writer. I was a plumber all my life, and but it started me thinking about my stories, how I could bring them to life with young people, and that started the process of storytelling, sharing my story. These are all stories that were shared with young people.
Well, they're definitely very vividly told. And
Yeah.
that's a gift not all writers have, to be able to put you right in the scene and to describe everything, that it's very cinematography, like I can see it as a movie one day or something, because, you can see you as a young boy on the stoop, the stoop as they call it in New York.
Yeah.
I'm sitting in my rocking chair on my porch here in New England, but, you're on the stoop and you're not only observing and witnessing what's going around you, but you're experiencing it,
Yes.
and living it.
Yeah.
So you're not writing it from a narrator's point of view at all.
I'm glad to hear that, because I never took a writing course, never went to a MFA program like a lot of writers do. But evidently, and this is a good point for for this show, for writers or people who want to write. Just do it.
Yeah.
I am told now, and I have an interesting story if we have time about how I got published, but I am told now through this book and readers, I put them in the scene. I don't think I would care to write any other way than get my audience, get my reader right with me. And that's my style.
Well, and that's, a tribute to all the verbal storytelling you've done over the years, because when you are verbally telling someone a story of your life or an experience and sharing that with them, you're engaging them in the moment. And I think a lot of writers fear when they're writing that they don't have the experience to be able to tell it in that authentic voice, nor the education in MFA writing or taking all these classes to know how to have that dialogue, to be able to have a one-on-one conversation with a reader. Because when you're writing a book, it's for, general audiences, but you really, if you can capture one reader at a time.
Well, it's key. And it was key in my beginnings as a writer when I made the shift to two places.
Yeah.
Just writing, which was great, just writing my stories. I noticed I was writing my stories. And then being aware, these are in writing groups. I went to drop-in writing
Did
groups.
you share these in the writing groups?
I wrote them in the writing groups. I wrote them there. And then not long, maybe 6 months, I announced I'm writing a book. Nice. Because the stories just kept unfolding and coming together and connecting in a loose way. But it was my life growing up.
Yeah.
And then I just said, I'm writing a book, and I took a manuscript program through the same organization called Writers in Progress up in Florence,
Mass.
Mass. And then after the manuscript, a friend of mine, very adept at Amazon, helped me get it formatted and set up, and that's all I wanted.
So
That's
when
all I ever
when
wanted.
did you start going to the writers group to start writing this?
Yeah, so I retired from being a plumber, but I also had 3 college degrees that I obtained in life.
In what? Writing?
No, not in writing. Interesting stuff, but it was human services, environmental science and administration, and special ed. Because there was a bunch of things I wanted to learn. I'm not sure the formal education helped me, but I did start a nonprofit for at-risk teens, and it went very well for several years.
Nice.
And then that was through my master's degree, and the special ed I wanted to go out and teach my students, my demographic that I was interested in.
Are you teaching how to do plumbing, or
No,
what are you teaching?
No. Plumbing was over, except, and I'll offer it to you because now you're my friend.
Yes.
I'll offer you the opportunity to be in my teleplumbing. People call in with a problem, and I tell them what to do, and I don't charge them.
So my sink is clogged. What do I do?
Yeah, if you're interested, and you're my friend.
Yes.
I call it teleplumbing.
Nice. I got a lifeline for a plumber. I'm so excited.
Maybe I wasn't a great plumber. I was a plumber for 40 years, so maybe I was. But
writing's a little bit easier on the body than doing plumbing.
Yeah, I just got a new knee.
Yes, I got two.
I'm getting another one. So, but that was story number 4, where you saw me get beat up.
Yeah.
I don't want to give it away, but that started the knee problems. So,
mine started going to Catholic schools. Kneeling all the time. I don't know.
Write a book. I'd love to read it. So I saw a tiny little ad as I was moving out of teaching and everything else. I cut it out and put it on my fridge, left it there for months. And then one day I looked at it and I decided to answer the ad, which was for the writing group.
Wow.
So
nice.
It took a month to get in. I got in and I kind of never left. That was like 2013, 14.
So that's about the same time I joined my writers group too, which I had, at the time I joined, I already had 2 published books, but I was doing them alone and, not sharing them and feeling very inferior and, nervous and anxiety. And then, working on my 3rd book, April Rain, is when I decided to join the writers group. And a lot of times in the writers group, I would work on memoir pieces.
Okay.
Even though I was like, I don't want to write my memoir. Like, I'm trying to write this murder mystery and, solve a crime.
Wow.
But I was very hesitant to share what I was writing. I think that was part of, because it was fiction too. Like, early on thinking, I don't want anyone to steal my idea, or, I don't want anyone to think I know something more than I do. So I kept it very hush-hush. But, working on the memoir pieces that I have, I was just talking to my writing coach the other day, like, I have all these pieces, and how do you merge them together? And for Stories from the Stoop is a great example of how that was done, because you don't tell the story in like flashbacks. You're in the moment. Each chapter is that snapshot life story. And
each one could be a movie.
Yes, each one definitely could be a movie. And when I was reading it, the story is very quickly readable, but nicely told. So I don't want to say it's quickly told at all. There were times where I wanted to savor chapters. I wanted to savor the moment. Some I wanted to skip over because I was like, I don't want to know about any bloody, gory fight scene.
Well,
and I was surprised. Like, you have one chapter in there that's it's like almost like 30 something pages, and I was like, how long is this chapter? But after reading it, I realized why it needed to be that long.
Yeah. And
how did you decide what to include in it? How long to make the chapters? Did you exclude some of the stuff?
Again, I'm still a novice. I was a real novice putting this together.
Yeah.
So it might sound arrogant, but I don't care. And I didn't care. And I only cared about one thing. I wanted to see this somewhere in the world, not for sales purposes. I'm not going to get rich. And there is a hardcover.
You might get rich from this.
Okay, well, your lips to God.
Okay.
So it comes in hardcover now because it got, mainstream published. But the reason I say I don't care is not out of arrogance. It's because I was never a writer, never cared to be, and I'm watching writers around me in these groups and then conferences especially.
Yeah.
There's a couple funny stories on my website about agents, etc.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to see it in the world. I had this idea. I saw this cover. I felt my stories, put it together in this cohesive form, and then got it on the world stage called Amazon, good, bad, or otherwise, and got a bunch of nice reviews, a couple stinkers.
Yeah. So let me ask you about this. So you put it on Amazon in softcover. I've done the same with mine.
Yeah.
Now, going to find an agent, I've been told, when you're self-publishing through Amazon, a lot of agents don't want to look at your book again because you've already done it. To have a new manuscript to give to them, if they're interested in that, then great. It's, start fresh all over. And then, yes, maybe they come back and pick up your other books and start over again.
There's another overlay to that. Which is,
so tell me about that because I want to know this.
Which is what either I uniquely experienced or many people are experiencing it now. let's be honest. Amazon is the world stage for just about almost anything. And I'll never knock it. I understand the monopolization of everything through it.
Right, and it hurts the small book publishers, and I mean, we
got to find a way to all work with it, because this is the nature of things. Anyway, when I started the writing groups, I turned the corner. That's a New York phrase, by the way.
Turn the corner.
If you think about it. I turned the corner when I realized I'm going to have an audience.
Yeah.
Prior to that, I didn't care. I just liked telling my story. But then it dawned on me, how are they receiving this? And that's where you see the detail that you see now. Not much different than my abilities before, but just a consciousness that there's a reader. I want to bring that reader in.
Yeah. You do.
I want to do it seamlessly. So I just adopted the style and started writing from it. But, so here's the story.
Yep.
I don't know if it applies to you or not, but maybe some other writers, or maybe not. I put it on Amazon, very happy, very proud. Mm-hmm. No one ever wrote a book in my family. I don't think anyone ever finished college in my family. And here I am, a plumber with 3 degrees.
and none of them in writing.
and written a book. Go figure.
When we get called to do something, we just do it.
Well, yeah, that's true. So I put it up on Amazon. This is like 2017, because I remember distinctly. It's just when my mom died and my partner's mom died. And my dog died. It was a very, very tough time. But persevering in writing this helped me through. Yeah. Got it up there and just let it do its thing. Forgot about it, more or less. Everyone says, you're checking your book, you're checking your reviews, you're checking your sales. No,
I know.
I'm done.
That's how I always say. I'm like, I'm done. It's done. It's done. It's out there in the world.
It's a funny thing, and maybe it'll get explained later, but to me, writing the book was easy. It's everything after.
Oh, it's a whole different world.
Yeah, so I got it on Amazon, and one day I get an email, as I got many, because to me, I don't know about you, you get out in the world as a writer, you get all these offers to publish, or vanity publishing houses, or whatever you call them, and I just threw them in the trash. Yeah. And then one day, one looked legit. And when I say legit, what I mean is I looked them up. Mm. This is a real, bona fide, renowned publishing house. And I read the content, very short email. We love your book. We'd like you to come down for a visit. Wow. So what happened is the publisher himself from Skyhorse Publishing, his name is Tony Lyons, very renowned in the industry, cool guy. I really liked him. And I went down to see him.
In New York?
Yeah. And he...
One of your homeboys.
Well, it was... no, I'm going to say it was Manhattan.
Okay, well, so that's not the Bronx.
Exactly.
Different world.
I'm going to leave it at that. Neither is Queens, Brooklyn, or Staten Island.
They are all so separate. I know, I get it.
So, no agent. It was on Amazon. Publisher himself and his minions troll Amazon. This is my take on it.
Yeah.
And they look for books they want or from good authors, and they give you a call.
Are they trolling to see like what your sales are on it?
I don't think so. I think
mean,
they
people
want.
Have said, "Oh, if you sell so many books."
Tony Lyons goes like this. When I walked in, it's a big desk, editors all around. We're talking. My girlfriend insisted I bring homemade cookies. She said, "You want to get this book published? Bring the cookies." I brought the cookies. They were half gone because I had to take the train.
Got a little magic spell in those cookies.
Well, they were Linzer cookies, very good.
Nice.
And everyone was eating and talking, and Tony Lyon picks up the book and says, "I love this book." And then for the next 20, 25 minutes, he's telling me all about his upbringing, the kids he grew up with, the games he played in the street.
Yes, people can relate.
And it's like, he was even mentioning names, and I'm sitting back thinking, wow, this book had an impact.
Yeah.
And he picked it up.
Yeah.
And they gave me a contract and a good faith check.
So did they take it off of Amazon?
No, I'm not done.
Okay, I didn't think so. So I'm like, wait a second, because as far as I know, it's got to come off of Amazon, let them publish it, and then they could
That's all true.
Okay.
However.
Yes.
That was very pre-COVID.
Okay.
It was quick.
Yeah.
COVID was coming right away after that meeting.
Okay. Oh.
So I called a few times, no answers. Did get through once, and they laid off everybody. So everything, went dark for
And
a
they're
few years.
affiliated with Simon
Yeah.
and Schuster?
Yeah.
Yeah. During the pandemic, I actually went to their offices.
Oh.
And I took some pictures outside.
Oh, wow.
And went in. I'm like, is anyone upstairs? They're like, no, everyone's working remote. And I'm like, well, I just want to leave, my card. And I left all sorts of stuff. But nobody was in the office. And I go, well, can I get a tour?
Everything was a ghost town.
It was a ghost town.
And I just, I wasn't that hopped up on the idea anyway, because I was happy. I'm fine.
You were happy with what you had, yeah.
Amazon, whatever. But 2 years go by, and I understood no word, don't bother them. Everyone's trying to
cashed your check.
I did.
Good for you.
The next day. Anyway, I just kept my head down, and if the thing was going to take off and the publishing house was going to open again, I didn't know.
Yeah.
So I just let it go, and sure enough, a year ago now, I got the call that they want to start, putting it together again. So it got published last.
So you sent them
summer.
the PDF file of it?
Yeah.
And then did they do a lot of restructuring of it, like reformatting of it?
Well, that's another
except
story.
The hardcover?
That's another story. The formatting wasn't hard for them to do.
Right. You did.
But it went. They're serious business. It's a real. You look at their books that they sell. It's up there.
Right.
Famous authors, famous people. Who knew? So.
New upcoming famous authors.
Well, I'm going to be 70, so it's like, how much time have I got?
I know, it is. It's like, even when I started writing, I'm like, wow, I'm going to be like 50, and I'm, starting a whole new career.
Yeah,
like, wait a second. But
it's all,
it's all relative.
If you love it, you do it.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure you loved plumbing. I love doing flowers, but
I can't say I love plumbing.
No.
I was kind of roughly. It's in the book.
But, well, and like being a plumber and even being doing a trade that is hands-on, I think does help us as writers.
I think it helps us as human beings.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
I think every young person should have a year or two of learning a trade.
100%.
So let me finish this story for the
I want
writers
to
out
know
there.
about the book.
Yes. So COVID hits. Get the call back after COVID dies down. Let's do it. Got it done. Got a box of books from them. Sent me a request if I want another box, half price, blah, blah, blah. Bought that. And I was starting to get the feeling I was pretty alone with this.
The marketing part of it.
The marketing part. And they said, no, try these different venues. And I had done that already. And I thought maybe they would do some marketing. And they don't. And I'm not knocking them.
Yep.
They're a publisher. Evidently, things have changed to them being out of that.
Yeah, marketing is really on the...
Yeah.
Falls on the author.
Tell me about it. So, so this is now last year, and the book gets published, and, yes, it got... Now, Amazon is not the publisher, but you could buy it through Amazon.
Yeah, because
they say who the publisher is on Amazon.
Right, but like libraries and things can go get it at Ingham Sparks or bookstores, things like that, and that's kind of an important place to have.
Well, I'll be honest with you, and I didn't feel great about it, but prior to this publishing, the Skyhorse, I would go to different bookstores with this, and and they say, "Oh, that looks nice," and they go through, but are you mainstream published? And I said, "Well, no, I'm not, but I did Amazon." Well, it's a calling card when you do get published, whether through agents or my crazy story, with respect to, I guess, in the industry, getting respect.
Yeah, no, it's so true because, going in to do talks at libraries or schools or having your own author events is easy. Still planning, and it still takes time for the marketing for an author to do. But, when you're trying to get into the, bookstores, some of the small mom and pop shops, they'll take your book, but they're going to kind of take it like on a little bit of a consignment basis because they're saying, okay, we'll buy 10, we'll hold 10 books, and if we don't sell them in 3 or 4 months, then we're going to, give them back to you. Yeah. I was lucky enough when I did Dear Baby Get Out that Barnes & Noble did host me. And, they bought some inventory to have on hand. And, I gave a book talk and signed some books. And then whatever they didn't sell afterwards, which I know we sold quite a few books that day, they were able to return. Like if they can return them because they don't want to, have them.
I'm doing a Barnes & Noble event, April 27th.
Okay.
Holyoke.
Oh, nice.
Sounds exactly like what you did.
Yep.
And I don't know what will happen. I'm not sure if now that the book is higher priced,
yep.
it's kind of...
What does a hardcover sell for?
$24.
That's average.
I know, but I'm thinking of myself,
I know.
This was 10.
Yeah. Oh.
Because I priced it specially to sell. So it is what it is. It's just I'm doing that event, and I'm going to do a lot more. But I'm going to get the second knee surgery, so I'm going to be laid up.
Oh, yeah.
You know how that is.
Yeah, it's
And so come end of summer, maybe, more and more events.
Yeah.
My website.
Well, if you can, and if you, before you have the surgery, plan them out, like in 4 or 5 months.
It's only a few weeks
but
away.
After my knee surgery, I did think, I'm, been working on my next book called Being in My Breast, and I'm like, it's done. I'm like, I'm going to edit it while I'm in recovery.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Yeah, that doesn't work.
How'd that go?
That didn't work at all. And let me tell you, I laugh now because I think I set up a little desk by my couch. I'm all ready with the leg to be elevated. I got my computer. I got the books. I got everything
but
in
you're
arm's
also
reach.
on oxycodone? Yeah.
And between the pain and the drugs and the therapy and the amount of sleep you need, there's no editing.
But I'm raring to go with my second one now that I know what to expect.
Yeah, no, I will. For my second one, I knew what to expect. So, I'll be celebrating 1 year for.
Oh, good. I want to talk to you
Rita
about
May,
that.
and I can name my right knee Rita May, and my left one is Ella Nooney, and Ella just celebrated 1 year with me.
Oh,
she's doing good.
That's
so
great.
I did name them for the purpose of when I have a bad day. I don't feel like it's me having a bad day. I say the twins are having a bad day.
Oh, okay.
Twins are acting up. I need to, take a little nap today.
That's a good way to
go. Twins need a nap.
I like that.
So, all right. I do want to talk about very quickly. You did oral storytelling.
Yeah.
And you started entering contests called Story Slams, where you come up on stage, you have 5 minutes to tell a story.
Right.
And to an audience.
Yep.
And, I witnessed my very first one a few weeks ago. And when I say witness, I mean I participated.
Oh, wow. Good.
And I came in third place, which was...
That's good.
Had no idea.
Yeah.
And I am off to the finals now. So, I just keep saying, even if, it doesn't matter to me if I win, just the fact that I'm doing this,
Congratulations. It's big.
Yeah. How do you do it? How do you give this talk in front of, 800 to 1,000 people, a 5-minute story?
Well, first of all, they don't exist. You're in your own world.
Yeah.
Just be as natural as you can. The story is intrinsic to you, so that shouldn't be a problem recalling it. I know the time clock is a pain.
Yeah. Tick, tick, tick,
it's 5 minutes. But what I did, so as far as going up on stage and doing it, I got seconds and thirds, and I think I went to the finals once.
Nice.
But the time clock got to me because you said this chapter was 40 pages.
Yes.
I got a lot to say.
Yes. Your first chapter, it's 5 minutes. It could be a 5-minute story.
It is, by the way.
The next one is literally, a movie.
The first one is a 5-minute slam. The second one, I took a small piece out of that big story.
Oh, you're giving me a great idea now for my memoirs. Maybe I just take them, make them all into
I'll
little
show you
story
what I
slams.
did with my excerpts. Yeah. So, it became it's like entertainment. It's really nice. It's a performance. You're with other writers or storytellers, and it's just real fun if you could maintain that.
Yeah. No, I really did enjoy doing it, and talking to different writers on the show. I've had people who are verbal storytellers. Especially in the the Native American world. It's all oral storytelling passed down through the generations.
Yes.
Then you have songwriters who are singing, and playwriters, screenwriters. Novel writers were a little bit different because we can be long-winded. We can keep going on.
Better
the page.
Better not to be. I've learned lessons from that.
Yeah.
These days I do flash.
Oh, I like
writing,
flash fiction.
And I also do, as much as I can, I think you witnessed one, dialogue only. Because I believe a
Yeah.
great story could be told without a whole bunch of narrative.
Oh, definitely. I just performed in a vaudeville act, which is, obviously dialogue only, and there's a great story in there. And it was a new way for me to experience storytelling. So, I'm playing in different avenues too. But, again, I love your book, Stories from the Stoop. I love it. I hope the audience will read it, but, for entertaining factor, for sure. But, especially as a writer, to read that, to see how you were able to weave your memoirs into, anchoring them on the stoop of your home, wherever that stoop was. Because even though it's a tale from the Bronx of where you grew up, I mean, you're telling it from different stories. So we're not always there. But, it shows the anchor that you have to not only who you are in your stories, but, to knowing the world.
Angela, you really got it. You're the first person who commented how I anchored.
Oh, you anchored
my
it right
storytelling, my observations of the world life going on around me from this little piece of granite called the stoop.
Yeah.
But the stoop is figurative, symbolic.
Oh, it's so symbolic.
As well as
we all have a stoop.
We all have at least one.
Yeah.
So, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for coming on the show today. I really appreciate it. And I look forward to talking to you more about books and story slams and flash fiction. And I think we're starting a good relationship here. I can't wait to work more with you.
Can you tell your audience my website?
I was just going to say, tell them where they're going to buy this book and how they can get a hold of you.
Okay, you will never see this again. I have a box of them at home. So these are called Extinct. So now I have the next level, which is hardcover. Little different cover. Editing is minor that they did. They wanted to maintain my vernacular, they said. So they cut me a pass on that. But, so that's Skyhorse Publishing. Barnes & Noble. Any bookstore should have it. I'm going to make the rounds locally.
And what's your website?
www.stevebernsteinauthor.
Steve Bernstein, author.
That's
author.
You'll get it. .com.
Author.com. Love it.
And there's some fun stuff up there. Check it out. I wrote some stories. I write prolifically. I mean, I'm always writing. I've probably got 100 short stories I've written.
Yeah, we'll go on off camera. I'll tell more, and maybe on camera with you guys, I'll tell more another day. So again, thank you for coming on, and thank you to Studio 954 for making this show possible here in the studio. I want to thank you, my listening audience, for tuning in each week and finding out what I'm learning, because we're all learning this together in this lovely world where we all have a story to write. So before we close out the show today, I'm going to give you your writing prompt. So for those of you who want to start writing your memoirs, I think this would be a really great prompt. So when the show's over, set your microwave timer, your watch timer, your phone timer for 5-8 minutes and just start writing. And today, because we're telling stories from the stoop, think about your stoop. What's the scoop from your stoop? Do you have a little front porch? Did you swing on a swing in the backyard as a child? Where can you anchor yourself? And put yourself there and tell us a little bit about not only what you're observing in the world, tell us about that time, but tell us what you were going through too, because, we want to know more about you, and that's what memoirs are all about. When we learn about you, we learn about ourselves too. So thank you so much for joining this episode of yWrite, and I will see you next time. Have a great day.